Over the past few years, I have honestly been to just so many incredible destinations that I wanted to make a video highlighting some of my favorite layovers that I've had as a flight attendant over the past 3 years. And if you are new to my channel, or if you haven't seen any of these videos, I will put the full-length vlogs for each video that I talk about in the description box below. This first one I'm going to talk about is London. Oh my god, you guys, I am so excited. I got called for London. I've been to London twice, but this first layover was one of my absolute favorites because I actually had no idea that I was even going. I was on what we call airport standby, and as a flight attendant, what that means is they have you sit at the airport for either like a 4 or a 6 hour shift, and last minute, if they need you to work a flight, then you're called. And I got called for freaking London. I was just like stoked out of my mind. I couldn't wait, and I think it was one of my first like long haul international flights, which made it just super cool. Oh yeah, and this was also my first time working in business class on a wide body aircraft, which I just thought was beautiful and such a like luxurious travel experience. Even though I was working, like I wasn't like a passenger, but I just thought it was incredible to be up front and to do the service and to see the lie flat seats. It was just something I had never personally really seen before or experienced. And then once I actually got to London, I was exhausted. I am already getting really tired and I'm starting to feel delusional. But I was also really determined to get out and see things and explore on my layover. And when I was trying to find the tour bus for the hop-on, hop-off tour, I got so lost and I had to ask a stranger for help. Now I'm gonna try and find the bus stop for where the hop-on, hop-off tour starts, which definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, like totally new place, somewhere I've never been before, having to ask a stranger for help. But eventually I got where I needed to go and I was able to see some really cool spots. Even though I was so tired, I had so much fun just getting to walk through Hyde Park. I was able to see Kensington Palace. I also remember just looking at the tall brick buildings, either when I was on the bus or walking, and I just remember thinking that they were beautiful and that the architecture was just stunning. Also, on a side note, if you guys do go through and watch some of these older videos, my apologies. My editing honestly was not that good, but I think I've improved a lot, and just bear with me. This next trip was also another long international flight that I got off of airport standby, and it was to Santiago, Chile. I remember when I was making the vlog thinking that it would be so fun to do like a mystery destination. I wonder if any of you can try to guess where I'm at. Even though like a minute into the video I announced that I was in Santiago. I seriously think that my view from my hotel room in Santiago was one of the most beautiful views that I've ever had on any of my layovers. We were right up next to the mountains. This was such a fun trip too because we were meeting up with different crew members from different bases. Everyone say hi. Hi. And we're all going hiking. Not only did we have my crew from Dallas hanging out, but we also met up with a crew from Miami who had the same layover. While we were hiking up the mountain, we came across this Japanese garden. This is a little Japanese garden that is along the way to the top of the hill. It was just really surprising and I wasn't expecting to be there, but it was absolutely beautiful. And then from that garden, you had a view of the tallest building in South America. Once we got to the top of that mountain, we were able to see the Virgin Mary, which was just absolutely incredible. And I remember all of us being so exhausted by the time that we got to the top. And so we took the gondola because we were all really tired. And I just remember those views were so pretty and definitely made the gondola ride worth it. Yeah, so that was a really incredible trip. This next trip is one of my just absolute favorite places in the entire world, and that's Honolulu, Hawaii. am so excited. We're heading to Honolulu, one of my favorite places. I've actually been to Honolulu twice, but I only had a YouTube channel for one of the trips, and I wish that I had my channel for the first one too. I was here for a layover in December. However, I obviously didn't have a YouTube channel then, so I didn't vlog it. Also, definitely one of the nicest hotel rooms I have ever stayed at. Due to crew security and safety reasons, I'm not allowed to tell you all the names of the hotels that we stay at for our trips, but it was absolutely beautiful. And when you looked out the window, you could see the pool and you could see the marina with all of the boats, and it was walking distance from the beach. So it was just like, if you could create Julia's perfect layover with everything that she would want, that's it. Even though walking to the beach didn't take a lot of time, I do remember that Waikiki Beach felt a little touristy and pretty crowded to me, but beautiful nonetheless, and still one of my favorite beaches that I've ever been to. And I was able to get really up close to a sea turtle, which was just awesome. Later that night, I went back to the hotel and hung out at the pool, and I was able to meet up with some of my crew members. Meet my crew! Say hi to YouTube! Hi, Julia, she rocks! So sweet. I just remember all of us hanging out and laughing and having a really good time, and we were able to watch the sunset from the pool, and it was just absolutely stunning. And then, oh my gosh, the sunrise the next morning was breathtaking. It was just out of this world beautiful. I remember waking up pretty early that day in Hawaii because the time zone changed, but later that day I did meet up with one of my crew members, and we took an Uber over to Manoa Falls Trail, and that hike was so pretty, and I just felt like I was in the jungle. It was so fun, and we hiked to a waterfall, which was obviously beautiful. Other than Hawaii, if you have been watching my channel for a while, then you would know that Cancun, Mexico is my absolute favorite layover. I just love the beach there. The water is always so blue and beautiful, and I just always have an amazing experience every time I go to Cancun. My room had the cutest little balcony where I could just step out and feel the breeze from the ocean and see the water. I remember thinking that the hotel was set up so nicely with the pool and the bar being literally steps away from the beach. And as I mentioned in the video, swimming in the ocean is one of my absolute favorite things in the world to do. It definitely felt really nice and cool, especially since it is so warm out. I just feel so peaceful and just in my total bliss when I'm in the ocean. And that night for dinner, I had nachos, which were so good, and I was able to look out on the ocean and watch the sunset, and I just remember thinking like, man, I am really living the life right now. Ecuador is hands down one of the most incredible places that I have ever been, and I was actually in Guayaquil, Ecuador right before Christmas, so hence my super cute Christmas earrings. The first thing that I did with one of my crew members when we got to Ecuador was we headed to this park that is famous for having a bunch of iguanas just roaming around the park. The next thing we did was we headed to this boardwalk, and if you walked up to one of the viewpoints, it just had stunning views. We are now at the Malecon 2000, which is the boardwalk I was talking about, and we climbed some steps and were able to make it to the top of this viewpoint, and the views are beautiful on both sides. Behind me you can see Ciudad de Centro, and then on the other side of me you can see the river. We kept walking along the boardwalk, and then we came across this gigantic Ferris wheel that we decided to take, and at the top we were able to get some awesome views of the city. We also made the trek up the famous 444 steps, which was difficult, and I just remember it being so hot and I was sweating so much, but the views from the top of all of the steps, and there was this really cool lighthouse up there too, were just so incredible and honestly so worth the trek. I also had the pleasure of visiting Quito, Ecuador, which is hands down also one of the best layovers that I've ever had. met up with one of my crew members and we walked to the markets that were near the hotel, and I just remember thinking that was so much fun, getting to see the local shops, and doing things like that truly helps me feel like I'm immersing myself into the culture, and it was just a really neat experience. We were also able to visit the equator and literally stand in the city in the center of the world. I believe right now I am walking along the exact equator line. I also tried some new food. First time trying a fried plantain, and it's actually really good. I just got my food and it looks beautiful. We have avocado right here, salad, chicken, and these are like fried potatoes with cheese in them, some plantains, and this is called mote right here, which is like corn. Which I was pretty proud of myself because I am typically a pretty picky eater, but I really liked the food there. I know that I definitely need to be more adventurous in terms of food, especially when I'm traveling and trying new things. Later in the day, we took a cable car up the mountain and I even made some new friends. There was also this big swing at the top of the mountain that I, of course, had to check out. Another really awesome layover that I've had as a flight attendant was to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I mean, for obvious reasons, like you have the beach, it's a beautiful destination, it's just totally my vibe and just totally a place that I love to be. But it's funny because we actually started our day out by flying to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and it was like we were flying through a winter wonderland. Totally different scenery, especially later that night when we were flying into Puerto Vallarta. I saw one of the most beautiful sunsets from the plane that I think I have ever seen before. And I have to admit, seeing a sunset from 30,000 feet in the air is just like nothing else. Nothing can beat it. That night when we got to Mexico, I met up with two of my crew members and we walked along the pier to this awesome restaurant, and we saw all of these boats. It was really cool, and the restaurant had great food. They were definitely trying to get us drunk since it was National Tequila Day. Cheers. This is the second tequila shot I've ever taken in my life. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm awful, I'm so bad. They gave us free tequila shots, and I remember the pina colada that I got, which is like my favorite drink. I love pina coladas, was so good. The next morning, we headed to the beach, and I also had another beautiful view from my little balcony in my hotel room. When you were looking at the beach, you could see the mountains, which I just remember thinking that the mountains pushed up against the water was just such a sight to see. And then as we continued walking, we found this little hill, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if people get married here. So I was correct, and this is a place where people get married, and there's some workers here who are starting to set everything up. Because it looked like that, and then what do you know, as I walk up the hill, there's people working up there setting up for a wedding. After exploring that little hill, we just went back to the beach, hung out for a while, went swimming in the pool, grabbed lunch, and then we just got ready to head to work and head back to Dallas. I think that Washington, D.C. is probably one of my favorite domestic layovers. Every time I've gone, there's always been so much to do, so much to see. It's such a beautiful place. It's a very walkable city too, which is what I really like. I really like to get out and explore by foot on my layovers if I can. This specific trip to Washington, D.C. was awesome because the first leg over there was a deadhead, and what that means is that I am flying as a passenger. I'm still considered a working crew member, but basically the company needs to get me from one place to another place. So they fly us as passengers, and I'm not required to wear my uniform either, so I got to wear my normal civilian clothes. The views flying into DC were seriously like nothing I had ever seen before. As soon as I got to the hotel, I was ready to hit the ground running and head out to explore. And the first place I went to was Georgetown University, which was so beautiful actually. I don't know why I was expecting it to be any different, but it definitely exceeded any expectations that I had previously had. The architecture was stunning, the buildings were so beautiful. It was just a really cool university. After that, I just walked through Georgetown, which was a super cute little town. And then before heading back to my hotel, I was able to walk along the waterfront and I saw some boats, which was pretty neat. The next day, I took an Uber and I was able to have them drop me off at the National Mall, and then I just walked by foot to all of the different monuments that I could. I saw the US Capitol building, the National Gallery of Art, Sculpture Garden, the Washington Monument, the World War II Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial and Reflecting Pool. Another one of my favorite domestic layovers is Las Vegas because I actually grew up there and my parents still live there. It's always nice when I have a layover there because I get to see them. This particular trip to Vegas was especially fun because I flew with my friend Kat, and I have a feeling that a lot of you also know who she is. She's obviously a flight attendant and she's a YouTuber as well. It's funny because I remember Kat telling me about this trip the day before, that she had like this long layover and I should try to fly it and get on it. And I was like, yeah, I'll try. And there was a position open. And so I bid for it and I got it, and then realized that the trip started at 5 in the morning. So we were gonna have to get up at the crack of dawn. We were both up at 3 a.m., which is honestly something that I don't think I'll miss a whole lot from being a flight attendant. That was probably one of my least favorite things to do, was wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning for work. But anyways, by the time that we got to Las Vegas, we definitely had a second wave of energy and we felt perfectly fine. And then we walked to Capriotti's, which is somewhere that I love to eat and I grew up going there all the time. So it was just really special to take her there for lunch. Also, I have to admit, this was probably one of the weirdest hotel rooms I have ever stayed at. I'm sorry, I am definitely not one to complain like this, but why on earth would you put that above a hotel room bed? That is just, it's really, really freaking me out. I felt like she was staring at me while trying to sleep and it just freaked me out. Kat liked her. Kat thought she was cool, but I was not about it. I just was a little creeped out, to be quite honest. After eating lunch, we met up with my mom and we just explored the Strip. We just walked around everywhere, saw all of the sights, went into a lot of the different hotels, and it was just really fun. Even though I grew up there, I still like to pretend that I'm a tourist, and it's just such like a crazy and magical place. For dinner that night, we went to Town Square, which was a mall that I grew up going to a lot. I remember always going shopping there with my mom, with my sister, with my grandma, with a lot of my friends, and I just have a lot of childhood memories there. The next morning, we were both exhausted. I remembered feeling more tired that day than I did the day before, but we did meet up with my parents and have breakfast, which is really nice, and then we just spent the rest of the day laying out by the pool and hanging out in the water, and it was just a really nice relaxing day until of course we had to get ready for work and head back to Dallas. I truly have gone to see so many awesome destinations over the years of being a flight attendant, so what now? Luckily, even though I've been furloughed, I do still get to keep my flight benefits, which is honestly just amazing. And for my next travel series here on YouTube, I want to continue using my flight benefits to travel the US and the world safely, of course, as it continues to open up and bring you all along with me. The series is going to be titled Using My Flight Benefits to Travel to ... And then each week or every time that I can travel, I'll be going to a new destination. With that said, if any of you have requests for places that you want me to go to and visit, please let me know.